This video is not recorded in one of my moods, but I've been contemplating this for a long time right now. My relentless pursuit to attain nirvana or to attain peace and serenity has come to an end. As if you were to follow all my videos, you would realize that I actually literally went to Brazil, to the Amazon jungle, and I didn't have the battery to film the whole thing. I'm sorry about this, but I actually did go out 2 occasions. One was in Sao Gabriel, which was a total failure. The next one was a pretty good one, Nova Ariel, that was in Anavilhanas Archipelago. Now that was a very, very large Rio Negro, the Black River. And I had a problem getting over to the islands there because nobody would want to take me for irregardless the amount of money I put forth up front to them. Mainly because there's the caretaker, or they call them the mayor, who insists that we should register for tour packages. And I don't want to be on any tour package because I don't want to ride with anybody at all. I want to be on my own. Hence, I'm on my own. But nobody would take me. And eventually I got lucky because there was a German guy working offshore who's got a boat of his own. And I managed to secure him. But that stupid guy did not drop me right at the island. In fact, he dropped me on the sand island. It's a small little sand peat island that when the high tide comes in, it floods. So I was there for a while and the heat starts getting to me. There was no shelter and I had to go to the other island. Now it was about 100 meters away. I thought I could float my bags and I could float my money purse and everything itself, which contains my passport and everything, and it did float. And when I went in, I realized the underwater current of Rio Negro was so strong. I mean, it's a huge river, okay, and the undercurrent was so strong, and I could feel the fish, small little fish. There were millions of fish. There was hundreds of thousands of small little fishes, and some were bigger. And you could feel them nibbling at your feet and things like that, okay? No piranhas. Maybe they are piranhas, but I guess they didn't bite me. I wasn't worried about the piranhas. I was more worried about the underwater current that was sweeping me away. And my bag, is lighter in weight, and it was going much faster than I did. But I managed to drag it across to the island, 100 meters away. But as I got onto the island, the shore wasn't made of sand. It was made of clay. It was those gooey, slippery. I mean, they were like, you know how slippery clay are when it's wet. It was super slippery. I couldn't hold on to it. I was being swept away by the water, by the river, and my bag was floating out again. I cling on to it with my fingernails, and all the clay got stuck in my fingernails, and I couldn't get a grip on it. So my bag went off first. Water starts to seep in. My money purse all got wet. My money, my wallet, my passport all started to fill up with water. And it was going out into the middle. And I was also being swept away. But it was going much faster. If you guys have watched the movie Castaway by Tom Hanks, do you remember there was a time when he was on a raft? And then there was this, his so-called friend who was made up from a basketball. And eventually that friend somehow fell into the water and it got floated away. And no matter how hard he tried to retrieve it, he couldn't get it back. And he was totally heartbroken. Now this is worse. This is my money, my passport. If I lose it down into the river, that was it. Okay, I mean, shit trouble. Because first thing is all the credit cards and all the Visa cards and all the cash, cold hard cash in US dollars and everything, thousands of US dollars was inside there, and it was going to go down into the river. So I might as well be dead then. So I went for it. I went for it. Then I realized before I knew it, I was away from both islands, the small little sand island and from the other mud clay island. And I didn't know which, every second counts, every microsecond counts, because the tide, the current was sweeping you up further and further every single minute, every single second. So I wanted to head back for the sand, and I realized the current at the sand there, because it was a bottleneck, the current was fantastically strong, and I got swept further away. So I decided to go back to the mud island, the clay island. And I struggled. No matter how hard I struggled, I couldn't move. And my leg was tiring up very fast. The muscles were starting to cramp from the build-up of lactic acid inside me. I was starting to lose my breath. I was starting to pant extremely heavy. Have you ever really ride a bike uphill so hard, or you ever run so fast that you can't even catch your breath? You're going, well, this is one time, okay? And the moment I stop breathing, I sink like a rock, and my bags were all wet, and it was sinking too. And with my last ounce of energy, I pull it up, and I put my head underwater. I got to go underwater, because there's no way I can put my head up and swim, because I just get swept backwards and backwards, and I'm going to tire out. That's how people die. Like those kids in Chapaya River, they just jump and then they thought they can swim against the tide, and they die. They just died because they just couldn't. You couldn't. Mother Nature is really very fierce. Okay, so I was really gasping for breath. My lactic acid was building up in all my arms, my back, my leg. I couldn't feel anything anymore. I was numb, and I was still like 150 to 180 meters away from that mud island, that clay island. I didn't know how I did it. I don't know if you really believe in the Lord and His Son Jesus Christ, but I really do believe in God. And I said, God, this is no way for me to die. Is it, right? Is this it? I die like that, drown? And I said, no, I'm going to give up. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to try it one more time. And I put my head underwater, and keeping one of my hands up, holding my back up so that my back will not go underwater. But it went underwater anyway. It was all with water. But I want to hold it up, and I swam. I couldn't do freestyle, so I do breaststroke. The way the way they taught me in the army, underwater, and then breathe, and then kick and push. And I tell you, I went up, my head bobbed up for air, and I bobbed down, I went down again, swim again, I went up again, and I moved ever so little, 1 inch by inch by inch, because the current was still so strong. I really thought I was going to die. I really thought I was going to die. And finally, I reached the clay island. I still couldn't, my legs, I couldn't feel my legs. It really cramped up so bad, because the enormous amount of lactic acid built up. There wasn't enough oxygen coming into my muscles, and it cramped so bad. I was clawing at it. My G-Shock watch was all covered with mud. So much for being mud master. It was really with mud anyway. Then I remembered my survival knife, the long one. I took it out. I plunged it right into the clay, twisted right in, and hung onto it with my elbow wrapped around it for dear life. I was left in that position for an hour before any boat came in my direction. During that period of time, I saw a crocodile, or I do not know, was it a loch or a python, anaconda, but it went in and out of the water, and for a moment it was coming to my direction, and I stopped kicking because I was scared that it would come and attack me. And I would need my survival knife to hold on for dear life. And if the crocodile were to drag me out into the water, then I'll need a knife to plunge it into his head, and then I'll be back into the water again. And I don't think this time I'll be able to swim back on shore. So the hilarity of now I think it's hilarious, but at that time it was a nightmare. It was terrifying. I'm not the type of person who threat. I don't fear any two-legged man, or how big he is or whatever it is. I fight them. But this Mother Nature, man, it beats everything hands down. It beats the toughest opponent I have. The biggest guy I took on hands down. You know, Mother Nature alone is the toughest, the biggest of all big. And well, the crocodile didn't come for me, and one of the boat came. It was a couple of youngsters who was high on drugs. You know how those weed, they take the weeds and stuff like that. So, but anyway, they saw the huge knife I have, and they didn't try anything funny. So they brought me back to the island. They brought me back to the island, not to the island, not to the mud island, the sand island, and dump me there because they was going to go back off, go back to the mainland. So I was stuck back to square one again. And I'll stop this video for now. There'll be a part 2 from that sand island. It was like from the frying pan and into the fire. And I'll tell you about it in my next video. Take care. Bye.